All right, how's it going, guys? So this is for the client work tier 3, folks. Now, no client work came in December for most people doing freelance. Not a lot of work comes in December, but I didn't want to just leave you guys with no content since you are paying extra. So I'm going to give you guys not only this dark bronze tutorial, but there's actually some really cool tricks that I learned in terms of optimizing your bump nodes. You can see how I have 3 bump nodes here. Generally, before I learned this optimization, I think I would have had 5 bump nodes in order to get this kind of detail in a material. The issue with 5 bump nodes is that's practically unusable in Eevee. It's still pretty slow in Eevee, but 3 is kind of the max I will ever go. But again, we wanted to have this amount of detail in my bumping. So I'm going to teach you guys this exact material, but I'm also going to teach you guys exactly, well, I'm just going to teach you guys this trick with mix RGBs. This is something that is in the shading course, so you guys are kind of getting a free lesson from the course. So if you want to learn more, that course is it's the Getting Comfortable Shading course, but this is some really cool kind of valuable information for this dark bronze material. So I'll be going back and forth with this. So with that being said, let's go ahead and duplicate this sphere, move it over, and I'll just hide him. All right, so we're going to delete this and go into this material. And let's play around with this guy. So we are going to make it metallic because this is a metal material. Now, what I'm teaching you, I guess, could go with gold, really any kind of highly detailed, relatively weathered metal material. So we're going to get a color ramp here, plug it there. And I do want to go ahead and get in a reference here for the dark bronze. Let's see if I can find my... let's see if I can find the actual reference that I used, because I saw this on an image and I thought it was very cool, so I wanted to make a dark bronze material. Some of these are not loading. Yeah. Let's see. Do we have the exact reference? Oh, here it is. Found it. I found the original reference. This right here. So can we zoom in on it? We can. All right, so the reason why I kind of made that veiny look was this specific here. There's just so much detail going on here. And I really loved this section specifically. And then it has all these kind of hills and ridges. And so there's a lot of detail, and I really wanted to kind of take that as some inspiration. So that's what I did going into this material. So with bronze, it's going to be kind of over here and darker there. Maybe closer. There we go. So that's kind of the dark bronze color. And then we are going to need a noise texture to really be the synopsis of these colors. So I'm going to hit Control T. Make sure you have that Node Wrangler add-on enabled to do that. Or you can just get a mapping and a texture coordinate. We're going to plug that straight into here. Detail to 12. We're going to bring that roughness pretty high. And then bringing this in. We do want B. I think we needed B spline for this, just because it was relatively subtle on our color. There we go. Something like that, and then this can come up slightly gray. Don't want it to be full black. All right, so that's pretty much our dark bronze in terms of the color. It's very cool and mysterious. We are going to want to go ahead and get some roughness here. And we'll tweak that as we go, because bumping is going to play with the way light reflects and kind of move on as we go. So color goes into the roughness here. Bring that in. Bring this in. I do want it fairly grungy. Pretty much my rule of thumb is I don't want total roughness. See that right there? So that's going to be the white portion. So I just bring it down a little bit. Not total roughness anymore. I tend to never have total roughness. And then we want this to kind of meet it halfway. This might need to come down some more. That's what we're going to work with for now. Bring these out of the way. Could just collapse them, but whatever. All right, now let's get into the bumping, which is really the exciting part of this tutorial. So I'm going to save this. All right, that was an obnoxious title. Okay, so we're going to need a bump node. So we're going to plop that right there. And actually, we're just going to get a new noise texture because it's going to be a little bit different. A little bit different than what we're generally working with. So plug that there. Oop. Plug that there. Color ramp, even though I don't think we're even going to use it for this particular bump. So plug that there. We're going to plug that there. And normal goes into the normal. So distance can come down. We're going to bring that scale. So what we're doing here is kind of going after these little bumps here. So we're going to need that detail to come up a little bit. I feel like that's appropriate. And then that strength can come down considerably. We don't want it too detailed, just enough. And maybe bring that strength up some. Like that. Cool. So we have the bumps. Pretty good. Let me reference my other material, make sure I'm tracking with my original design. So we did have the noise texture. So we first had this noise texture. Which I'm not, okay, so that's what we just made. And the next thing we're gonna do is this right here, which goes straight into it to add more detail. So that's what we'll do. I'm hitting the period key to kind of get back here. So let's go here, Shift D. So I'm going to get to the point where I'm talking about optimizing your bump nodes. Right here, this is not optimizing bump nodes, where you're getting another bump node to be plugged straight into this bump node to add more detail. This is kind of my old method, and sometimes it is appropriate, like what I'm about to do, where you're basically putting some detail on top of detail. So this is also a good opportunity to just kind of show you the old way and the new way. So this is the old way, where we're just getting another new bump node and stacking those bumpings. I'm not sure if bumpings is a word, but I made it one. So detail up to 12. We're going to make this really strong so we can actually see what it's doing. Cool. And then roughness can come up. So we can do something like this and then bring that strength back down. There we go. So now it's eating into it. That's what we wanted. So it's a pretty dramatic material. So everything can kind of come down. All bumping can kind of come down to a degree. Super dramatic. All right, so see how we have just a better looking bronze material already. So we have those big hills and we have some smaller ones eating into it. That's really cool looking and I really love it. It's already very detailed. So that's what we're going to do. This is the old method, putting one bump on top of the other one. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to get two more patterns to put on top of this. So in the way I use the word pattern, so this is one noise pattern, this is another noise pattern. And so in order to add two noise patterns on this material, I had to get two bump nodes. Well, now I'm going to use one bump node, but with two noise patterns. And that's what I mean by optimizing. So that's what I'm going to do. So the first noise pattern, I'm going to duplicate this color ramp here. The first noise pattern is going to be our Voronoi. So we're going to get a Voronoi texture, and that's going to create this veiny look right here. And so it's going to take a little bit of effort to actually make this perfect. So let's put the vector into the color ramp, into the Voronoi, and we're going to use distance. And we're going to plug the color into the height. So we're going to go from F1 to distance to edge, and then scale it up pretty significantly. Let's see, which way does it need to be? The other way. So bring the white in until we're getting this kind of look here. Now you can follow along in Eevee, by the way. If you don't have a powerful graphics card, you wouldn't be able to follow along. So I don't want you to feel like you can't. This is an Eevee material as well. All right. So now that we have that, let's bring the strength up so we can just kind of see what I'm doing. So now what I want to do is, well, first off, Let's see what I did on my other material, because I think I did something slightly different with this color ramp. So we're going to go to my Voronoi. Okay, yeah, so I pulled the black up. Oh, yeah, so it's extruding out. I was making extrude in. I forgot. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to invert my bump so things are extruding out. And then what I'm going to do now is take the black color. So I'm going to click this one here. And then bring that color in. Like this. I'm going to go to the white color. Bring it out a little bit. Just like this. Of course, that looks really fake and artificial. We need to add some detail. So now I need to add some more detail because this looks pretty artificial and fake. So I'm going to add some noise texture. I get a mix RGB so we're not using the whole noise texture because this is a little obnoxious. So bring that color ramp back. So if we bring it in, I'm going to go ahead and bring my detail up to 12. And bring that color ramp so that we're just using a little bit of it. And then maybe bring my roughness up a little bit as well. That might be a bit much. Right there. Okay, so we have this going on. I think the scale needs to be at like maybe 80. Cool. All right, now we have this, maybe even a higher scale than that. There we go. That's better. And then now we can bring that strength down. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do the lesson of optimization, which is I want to add a noise texture on top of this bump so that it's not, this pattern isn't covering the whole thing. Because what you'll notice on the reference is that it's only here, and you can see how it's barely noticeable here. You can kind of see it here. That's a noise texture. That is a noise texture basically on top of this, covering it up and hiding it. Generally what I would do is I would get another bump node, plug it in here, and put a noise texture there. But it's way too many bump nodes. I kind of have a personal rule, limit it to 3, because after that Eevee just goes bonkers. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go ahead and get a color ramp here. And we're going to use a mix RGB to combine these patterns and make them speak to each other. So let's get a noise texture. Right here. Oop, come on back. So vector into the vector, factor into the color ramp, and we're going to get a mix RGB to combine these two into just one bump node. Now, technically, I probably could have done it here, but I really didn't feel like thinking about it. Just a little bit of laziness coming out of me. So we're going to plug that there. And then I'm going to bring the factor all the way to the right so I can just focus on this pattern really quick. So detail to 12. Roughness pretty high up. And then I'm going to bring my color ramp. Something like that. Okay. Now let's mix these two together. How are we going to do that? So I'm just going to go ahead and highlight these two. I'm going to bring it down. Actually, these two as well. So I'm going to use this factor. Now, if you've ever dealt with a mix RGB or a mix shader, you'll know this factor is what depicts where different patterns are shown or revealed and with masking. So we're going to use another color ramp, this exact same thing. We're going to plug the noise texture here, and we're going to plug the color into the factor. And you'll notice now in those flat portions, the pattern is being revealed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up so that it's only getting revealed in those flat portions. And you can flip it around like this. But it looks a lot more organic now. But I don't want to do that. There we go. So you can just kind of flatten this out if you'd like. In fact, this can just be completely flat and use this as the one to show where different things are revealed. There we go, that's better. So now we'll just go ahead and make this an extreme example. Here we go. This is a better way to look at it. So here's the noise texture being revealed here. This is the Voronoi being revealed here, as you'll notice. So now we're optimizing, we're mixing the two. You can see Voronoi is being revealed, noise texture. And so now we can kind of play with how and where those two get revealed with each other. And that's how I made that bronze material. Just like that. It's really not enough of that Voronoi being revealed. There we go. So you can see it kind of being shown in random spots. And that is how you do that. Fun material, really cool, really detailed, and just a wild material here. And you have this whole node tree. If you want to have the project file for this, this material is available in the 10 metal material pack that I just put here on Patreon. So what you will do, because what I had, all of this, I'm going to hit Control G and then just do, just do something like, goodness, I'm not zoomed in enough. Just so you guys can look at the nodes if you want. So it's like this. You'll see the node group in the node editor. Just hit Control Alt G and it'll ungroup it. Then you can go ahead and look at all the materials. So I kind of sped through this, so it's not as good as the original one. I really kind of went in the minute details to show those patterns better. But right here is an optimized bump pattern. One bump, two patterns being revealed together. That's kind of the lesson. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you learned some stuff. This is a process it's usable in tons and tons of other applications. And since I recently started using it, I found it kind of optimizes materials, especially for Eevee specifically. Bumping is very intensive on Eevee. Cycles, it pretty much performs perfectly. With that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial.